Now, going on to the culture part of the podcast, you have Megan Rapinoe missing a World Cup goal and laughing. Now, I don't know if I could take credit for this nickname. It's not that great, but when I thought of this nickname from Megan Rapinoe, I had a voice in my head, and you know the voice. But when it comes to Megan Rapinoe, I have to say she is mediocre Megan. She can't even hit the side of a goal. She missed by miles. Anyone can hit that goal, even a child. That's why the high school boys beat her in a game. But I digress. And I apologize if that is perhaps the worst Trump impression you've ever heard to this date. The bar is pretty low in terms of the impressions. Everyone does it. But she missed a goal from mere feet away. And not only did she miss a regular goal, which, again, when you have adults playing soccer, or men's soccer, you have a lot of conflict in terms of people bounce off each other. That you can get people get physical, you get knocked down. You might even get a scratch on your knee. But in this case, it was a penalty kick, which is the easiest kick of all. It's literally where there's no chance of interference. You don't have to worry about someone clobbering you or bashing you to the ground. You're literally, the whole stadium's in awe. All 18 gals in the audience watching the U.S. women's soccer, they're all looking at Megan Rapinoe. Mediocre Megan, and they watched, and Megan with, again, no pressure in terms of no one's going to hit her, no one's going to knock her over. It's her versus the goalie. And the goal is pretty damn close. And the goal is pretty darn big. And she misses completely. And she, of course, missed. Now, this actually helped contribute to the downfall of the U.S. women's soccer team. And it looks like last Sunday they were defeated because of those penalty kicks in Parch, and they lost to Sweden. And this is the earliest exit ever for U.S. women's soccer team. Now, granted, very few people notice because statistically speaking, very people actually tune in. FIFA actually had to give away 20,000 tickets for one of the U.S. women's soccer events in New Zealand because no one was buying them, which goes to show you why men are paid more. It's nothing to do with sexism or being pejorative against one versus the other. It's quite simply supply and demand. Much more people tune in for the men's sport. And May would say, well, U.S. globally is about 50% men and 50% women. If every woman turned into the sport, they'd be paid them out because they'd be sick. I digress. But it's fascinating to see. Perhaps she should have spent more time practicing and less time being a political activist. And she, perhaps in her mediocrity, the whole world laughed at her, but even she laughed at herself, perhaps. She was seen laughing while she's walking away. And it's fascinating to see FIFA, they're being very litigious or very protective of this film. Well, I guess nowadays it's not film, it's all digital. Unless you're good old Christopher Nolan making the Oppenheimer movie. Physical film is very much a dying area. But I digress. FIFA is actually striking channels that use the actual footage of Megan missing epically. Perhaps because they're so embarrassed, but they should be proud. This is the first time in decades people have tuned in to see a highlight clip from the U.S. Women's Soccer Open. And I'm only 7% kidding. It's astronomical. Now, when I asked for further comment, because people actually, for some reason, wanted to hear what she wanted to say, which is oddly enough something I didn't think was possible, but a couple of them went up to her because she's supposed to be retiring. She's 38 years old, which again, in sports is pretty darn old. And I can't help but wonder, is she the best performer? Or is she the best soccer performer? Or is she just the best political performer? How did she get that spot on the team? But another topic for another time, perhaps. When a reporter went up and they asked her, what's your greatest memory from this game? You've had this long career. You've won a couple games. You've had some highlights. What's your favorite memory? Was it beating a really hard team? Was it coming together, working with the gals on the field and really hard practices, or some type of camaraderie that you built? No, her favorite memory was quote unquote equal pay, which again is for unequal performance, because performance-wise they don't perform as well as any other sports. Less people tuning in means less sponsors care, because sponsors pay per person tuning in. Whether it's an app on your phone or something on the TV, when they negotiate these contracts with all the big companies from PepsiCo to Coca-Cola to mom and pop shops who want to put their logo out there, the main topic they ask is how many people tune in, because the more people who tune into the sport, the more valuable that time is. That's why the Super Bowl ads are worth millions of dollars, because so many Americans have their eyeballs glued to the TV. It's purely fiscally a numbers game. How many people are tuning in, how much they spend on merchandising, all that kind of stuff. And she said her favorite memory was equal pay. And she went on to say that advocating for social issues are a couple of her other favorite things from being on a soccer team. Which, again, when I think of her quote unquote social contributions is a positive good thing. She mainly sat down on the national. Oh, I guess she didn't sit. She did kneel, so I guess it takes a modicum of effort. Mediocre Megan or modicum of effort Megan? You decide in the comment section which nickname is more apt or more accurate. But she wanted to say that some of her favorite memories for advocating social issues have nothing to do with soccer. Well, she didn't say it had nothing to do with soccer. I had to say it had nothing to do with soccer. It wasn't representing your country, which, again, she doesn't like the United States. Look at her social media or any of her protesting. Which, again, I would say there's a time and place for peaceful protesting. I would certainly say when you're representing the United States in front of the globe, well, if she thinks the United States is so bad, why is she getting paid a gross amount of money to represent the U.S.? The hypocrisy is quite unpalatable, to say the least. But it just goes to show you, perhaps it's best to not mix politics and sports, since I've yet to see it actually increase the value of a sporting team or increase the number of people tuning in to watch the sporting team. Perhaps she thinks this is her long-term career track, which Colin Kaepernick, fiscally speaking, he was successful in regards to he was a mediocre quarterback. I think he won a game or two, but he made a lot more money just protesting. So maybe she thinks this is her next thing as a lot of celebrities become advocates. But to say your greatest memory isn't working with the team, scoring a goal. Well, I guess she definitely didn't have that last memory. Her last attempt at a goal was an epic fail. But such a bizarre thing to not have one of your favorite memories be about the people, the team, leading the team, cultivating. The mind merely boggles. But I digress. If I were a gambling man, I would say we will hear her, whether we like it or not, very soon, because more often than not, I think she will traverse into a new career track of yelling more and kneeling more. How admirable to hate the United States but wear the United States uniform and profit off of it. Astonishing. But I digress for now. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Also, trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of August, so I greatly appreciate you taking the time to click that subscribe button. Also, taking the time to like and comment, also greatly appreciate. It really helps the channel grow and develop as we try to make the content and production better and better. Also, don't forget to tell your family, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your friends, heck, even tell your enemies, tell anyone and everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.